That was a value that I was trying to create in myself. Of course I wanted to make an impact. Of course I, wanted to creatively express myself and connect with other people. But my work allowed me to do that, but there was still something that I was pushing up against.
Yeah.
Because what started to happen for me is that once I got to a level of success where I had paid off our debt and I was actively saving money, and I could afford to do kind of whatever I wanted to do. I'm not talking Lamborghinis and that kind of crap, but like just had a really great lifestyle and was proud of myself. I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And like you, I felt like an asshole. You didn't use that word, but I'll use that word with myself. I'm like, what kind of an asshole are you? You're sitting here making an impact on millions of people's lives. You are able to stand on stages and share a message that changes people's lives. You are being flown first class all over the place. You can afford to eat anywhere you want. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And what was wrong with me is one of my core values, if I put it into the language of your work, was severely violated.
Yeah.
I was profoundly disconnected from my husband, profoundly disconnected from my kids and even my more extended family, because I never saw anybody because I was working. I had exactly 2 friends that I saw. And so I was profoundly lonely.
That's it.
And I was never not working. And so I just was like, something's got to give. And what actually gave is March 8th of 2020.
Yeah.
When my talk show got canceled and all of a sudden the world turned upside down and I found myself like the entire planet found themselves questioning absolutely everything. And what the greatest gift of that massive global transition was for me is it made me really assess what my values truly were. And when my husband and our 3 kids were then under one roof together, it made me realize how much that's all I wanted to do was be with them. And when I started to do my work not on stages and not by getting on planes, I'm like, you know what, Mel, it's time to stop talking about and thinking about doing a podcast. It's time to get serious about it. I'm really stressed about this presentation that's coming up. I'm really stressed that I'm behind on my sales quota. I'm really stressed that my spouse and I haven't really talked for the last couple days and they're really mad at me. I'm really stressed about getting these test results back from my dad. I'm worried about him. When you identify what you're actually stressed about, it loosens its grip on you. It comes out of hiding. And see, I think that stress backpack is an important analogy or metaphor that you can visualize. It's behind you, so you're not like thinking about it. When you identify what it is, you bring it right in front of your face. And because you're now identifying the source of the stress, it loosens its grip. When my talk show got canceled and all of a sudden the world turned upside down and I found myself like the entire planet found themselves questioning absolutely everything. And what the greatest gift of that massive global transition was for me is it made me really assess what my values truly were. And when my husband and our 3 kids were then under one roof together, it made me realize how much that's all I wanted to do was be with them. And when I started to do my work not on stages and not by getting on planes, I'm like, you know what, Mel, it's time to stop talking about and thinking about doing a podcast. It's time to get serious about it. Yes, you have integrity, so you got to wrap up a lot of obligations to be able to do this the right way. And yes, operating with excellence is part of your value. So it's going to take some time to launch the way that you're going to want to launch. But that was the moment for me. It was values driven. And I asked you the question about how you figure out your values because it's a surprisingly hard thing to do.
It is so hard. It is so hard. And you actually unpacked so much because, I think the world has gone through a value shift in this pandemic.
How so?
Because the values that worked before the pandemic no longer fit for most people, right? People now, we hear people talking about they want more flexibility in their job. They want to work from home. Why? Because they realized the family mattered and it was being compromised by the way they worked and did their family time. Right? But most people now haven't had the privilege of what you have of being able to pause and reflect. right? A lot of people are still in the treadmill of life. That's what I see in my office. People call me and they're still trying to fit their old values to this post-pandemic life. It needs a realignment. And how do you find your values is your question. So I talked about pain. The other way to find values, which I think is what happened to you, is this: lean into the moments that you feel your best. Okay, what about the moments? What's so important, right? You talked about being with your family. The way you said, my 3 kids and my husband, you lighten up. I could just see you in your living room with them during the pandemic. And if I went behind your brain, I could see just Mel being content, connected, and present.
Yes.
Right? Versus Mel on the stage was impacting a bunch of people. But then you're in that plane and you're craving that connection, that real connection with family.